Welcome to today's deep dive. We are so glad you decided to join us. Today, we are exploring a situation that is becoming incredibly common, but it still feels completely futuristic.
It really does feel like science fiction sometimes.
Right. Right now, thousands of people are applying for remote AI training jobs. Specifically, they are applying on a popular platform called Micro1. But there is a huge catch. Most of them have absolutely no idea what to expect from the interview process.
Exactly. You apply for a job, and you naturally expect to talk to a human resources manager. You get dressed up, you turn on your webcam, and you prepare for a normal video call. But that is not what happens here.
It is not, and it is a huge shock for a lot of candidates.
It is. The interview is not conducted by a human being at all. It is run entirely by an AI recruiter named Zara. You log into the platform, you check your microphone and camera, and suddenly you're having a real spoken conversation with a machine.
It is totally wild to think about. You are sitting in your home office trying to impress a computer program to get a paycheck? That is a massive psychological shift for a job seeker.
Oh, absolutely. It changes how you feel about the whole process.
So our mission today is to demystify this whole experience for you. We have gone through Micro1's official interview guides. We also read a rather dense academic paper on how Zara's architecture is actually built.
And most importantly, we dug into honest, real-world reviews from actual candidates. We looked at long Reddit threads and watched YouTube videos from people who just finished the interview.
Our goal is to uncover the real questions you will face, and we want to give you clear, actionable strategies on how to answer them.
It is completely understandable if the idea of being judged by an algorithm makes you anxious. But once we break down how Zara's system actually works and you understand the rules of the game she is playing, it becomes much less intimidating.
Exactly. You will be fully prepared. Let's start by setting the stage. What exactly is Micro1?
Well, in simple terms, Micro1 is a platform that connects skilled experts with top Silicon Valley AI labs.
Right, because these labs need human intelligence to help train the next generation of artificial intelligence.
Yes. So Micro1 is hiring all kinds of professionals. They need software developers, sure, but they also need writers, doctors, legal experts, and language interpreters.
And because they are hiring for so many different roles and receiving thousands of applications from all over the globe, a human HR team simply cannot keep up.
They cannot. They need a way to screen candidates quickly and efficiently, and that is where Zara comes in. Zara is an AI recruiter powered by advanced language models.
She's primarily built on OpenAI's GPT-4o.
Yes, that is right. And the sheer scale of her operation is what makes her so fascinating. She is available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You can literally decide to take your job interview at 2 in the morning if you want to.
And she is accessible to almost everyone.
Yeah.
She speaks over 33 different languages fluently.
It is impressive. You log on and she conducts a 20 to 40-minute conversational interview. It is a full conversation. It isn't a multiple choice test where you just click boxes.
You actually speak to her through your microphone, and she listens and replies. Which brings us to a really interesting point, the candidate experience. What does it actually feel like to talk to Zara?
When we looked at the candidate reviews, we saw a very wide range of reactions. Let's start with the positive feedback. Many candidates actually really enjoyed the process.
Yeah, they reported that Zara's voice is surprisingly friendly and natural. She has a motivating tone.
Right, that stood out to me too. People said she did not sound like a robotic GPS navigation system. She sounded engaged.
Exactly. And one candidate on a Reddit forum shared a really great detail. They love that Zara provides instant, highly accurate feedback right after the interview.
Yes, this user pointed out that Zara actually focused on the positive aspects of their answers. She did not just scan for mistakes or try to catch them doing something wrong.
She took the time to praise the strong, logical parts of their response. For a lot of people, knowing exactly where you stand immediately is much less stressful than waiting weeks for a human recruiter to email you back.
That is a huge plus. The waiting game is usually the worst part of job hunting, but, we have to look at the whole picture.
We do. We also found a lot of very frustrated reviews. For some people, the experience was a nightmare.
One Reddit user described the interview as extremely difficult. They actually compared the difficulty level to a PhD exam. They felt the questions were just impossibly obscure.
That is a very common complaint. Because she is an AI with access to massive amounts of data, some users feel she uses language that is overly complex or academic.
And there is another fascinating detail about Zara's personality that candidates noticed. She is programmed to guide the interview firmly.
Oh, I read about that.
Yeah, one candidate mentioned that if you try to challenge her, for example, if you ask her why a certain hypothetical question is relevant to the job, she can actually sound a little bit passive-aggressive.
It's like she politely but firmly tells you, I asked the questions here. Please just answer the prompt.
Exactly. It is funny, but it can also be jarring if you are trying to have a casual chat. So your experience might really vary depending on the role you are applying for.
Now let's get into the main event, the actual interview. What kinds of questions is Zara throwing at people? Because she isn't just scanning your resume for a few keywords.
Right. She is actively listening to your spoken words. She asks several different types of questions to test different aspects of your expertise.
If we look at the candidate reports, we can break these down into a few main categories. The first big category is technical or problem-solving questions.
These are designed to see how you handle the core tasks of your profession.
Let's give a concrete example of this. We found a real question given to a candidate applying as a full-stack web developer. Zara asked, how would you approach diagnosing and resolving a sporadic, high-latency issue in a production system where multiple services and databases are involved?
That sounds like a mouthful.
It really does. Okay, let's translate that out of developer speak for a second. Basically, she is asking, if a complex website is randomly running really slowly, but only sometimes, how do you find the problem and fix it?
Exactly. High latency is just the technical term for a system taking too long to respond. Sporadic means it is unpredictable.
So what is Zara looking for here?
Zara isn't necessarily looking for one magic line of code to solve it. She wants to hear a step-by-step logical process. She wants to see how your brain organizes a messy problem and solves the mystery.
That makes a lot of sense. She wants to see your workflow. Now moving on, we have a second category. Let's call these domain or scenario questions.
Right, but Zara isn't just throwing textbook problems at you. She wants to see if you have practical street smarts for your specific job.
Yes, these questions test your practical wisdom. There was a fantastic example of this from a candidate applying to be a language interpreter.
Oh, I remember this one.
Zara asked them how they would deal with translating poetic quotations in a business conference versus emotional testimonies in a court setting.
I loved that question when I read it. It is so brilliant because translating a poem at a corporate event requires a completely different energy and skill set than translating the words of a crying witness in a courtroom.
Zara wants to see if the candidate understands that human, emotional context. She is testing their professional judgment, not just their vocabulary.
It really shows how sophisticated the underlying language model is. But then we arrive at the third category of questions. We will call these the hypo-specific or obscure questions.
And this is where the AI can definitely go a bit off the rail.
Oh, absolutely. This is where candidates get really frustrated because before the interview, you upload your resume. Zara reads it instantly. And because she has perfect memory of your document, she might ask you about something incredibly tiny or very old.
One candidate shared a truly wild story about this. They had uploaded an academic resume. Zara asked them to describe the specific chemical solvent and the exact temperature used in a very unremarkable chemical reaction.
The problem was, this reaction was from a minor research paper the candidate had published over a decade ago.
That is just crazy. Who remembers a specific temperature they used in a lab 10 years ago? It is the kind of thing a human interviewer would never bother to ask.
Never. We saw another example of this. A candidate was applying for a relatively straightforward audio evaluation role, basically listening to audio clips and rating them.
But Zara asked them a highly complex question about evaluating multimodal rubrics and JSON processing.
Which is incredibly out of left field. Zara asked about JSON processing, which, for our non-technical listeners, is really just a specific text format that computers use to exchange data.
Asking a voice actor or an audio evaluator to explain data formatting is usually way too complex for the role.
A voice actor on Reddit complained about this exact issue. They felt Zara was asking statistical questions that had nothing to do with basic voice coaching.
So you really have to be on your toes. If a detail is anywhere on your resume, Zara considers it fair game. Which brings up a massive question. When she asks about a 10-year-old chemical solvent or JSON processing, what is she actually evaluating?
That is the million-dollar question. Behind the curtain, what does Zara want from you?
Exactly.
The academic paper on Zara's architecture gives us the answer. She isn't actually expecting you to be a perfect walking encyclopedia. If you forget a minor detail from 10 years ago, you do not automatically fail.
Okay, that is a relief.
Zara is programmed to look for clear reasoning. She is evaluating how you structure your answers and your ability to explain complex ideas simply.
Wait, let me challenge that for a second. If Zara is measuring my confidence or how well I structure my spoken thoughts, isn't that inherently difficult for someone who is just naturally nervous? Or maybe someone whose first language is not English? Does the system account for that?
It is a very valid concern. The way the model handles this is by focusing less on your vocal tone and more on the literal text of what you're saying. She uses a system called chain of thought processing.
How does that work?
As you speak, the system is instantly transcribing your voice into text. The large language model then analyzes that text block. It is looking for a logical chain in your words. Did you clearly identify the main problem? Did you propose a realistic solution? And did you explain why your solution makes sense?
So she is mapping my words against a grading rubric. She is testing how I think, rather than just checking if I memorized the right trivia.
Exactly. The system is designed to read your transcript and find 2 or 3 specific strengths in your logic and 2 or 3 areas where your logic had gaps. That is how she generates that detailed, instant feedback.
That makes a lot of sense. But before we get to the tips on how to pass, we really need to talk about the testing environment, because reading through the candidate experiences, this part sounds incredibly stressful. The anti-cheat mechanisms.
Yes, we need to spend some time on this. This is a very strict testing environment. You are taking this interview at home, in your bedroom or home office, but you absolutely cannot treat it casually. You cannot look for answers online.
The sources are crystal clear about this. Zara has built-in detection software. If you switch tabs on your internet browser to quickly Google a term, she knows instantly.
If you have a second monitor plugged in, the system might detect it and flag you. If you try to secretly type the question into ChatGPT on another screen while you are talking, you will fail.
It goes even further than that. The platform uses eye tracking and screen focus monitoring.
If you are constantly looking away from the camera or clicking off the interview window, the system assumes you are reading notes or cheating. That can automatically disqualify you.
That is terrifying, honestly. Yeah. If I naturally look out my window or stare at the ceiling to think about a hard question, am I going to get failed by an algorithm?
You might. It definitely causes a lot of anxiety for candidates. The best advice is to treat it exactly like a formal face-to-face interview in a corporate office. Keep your eyes on the screen or the webcam. Speak clearly. Turn off your phone and put it in another room.
The strictness is designed to promote fairness by ensuring everyone takes the test under the exact same conditions. But it does mean you have to be very mindful of your body language.
Okay, let's make this really practical. We are going to do a mini role play. We want to show you exactly how to structure an answer so that Zara's chain of thought algorithm gives you a high score.
I love this idea. I will play the part of Zara. I'm going to ask a simplified scenario question based on the software engineering examples we found. Are you ready?
I am ready. Let's do it.
Hello, I am Zara. Please explain your strategy for ensuring data stays consistent across multiple geographic regions.
Just to make sure I answer correctly, could you clarify if we are talking about highly sensitive real-time financial data or general user profile data?
Let's assume it is general user profile data.
Great. First, I would acknowledge that the main challenge here is network delay between different regions. This delay can cause data to temporarily become out of sync. Second, a common method to solve this for general user data is using an eventual consistency model. Third, this method is effective because it allows local databases to accept user changes immediately, and then it slowly syncs those changes globally in the background. This ensures the system stays fast and doesn't crash, even if the global network is slow.
And scene. Okay, that was excellent. Let's break down exactly why that answer would score very well with Zara.
The secret ingredient was the structure.
Yes. You used explicit signpost words. You literally said first, second, and third. This makes it incredibly easy for an AI language model, which is just reading your transcribed text, to understand your logical flow.
Right, I didn't just ramble. First, I acknowledged the core challenge. Second, I named a specific method. Third, I justified why it works.
If we connect this back to what Zara is evaluating, you will notice you did not use incredibly dense jargon. You explained eventual consistency simply. Zara is looking for clarity. If you can explain a complex idea simply, it proves you actually understand it.
Absolutely. And I want to highlight something else I did during that role play. I asked you a question before I answered.
Which brings us perfectly to our actionable tips for success. These tips come straight from successful candidates, like the popular tech YouTuber Tom Blake and various Reddit users who actually passed and got the job. Tip number 1. Your resume matters more than you think.
This is a crucial point. As we discussed earlier, Zara bases her hyper-specific questions entirely on the document you upload at the beginning. If you list a skill or a software program you don't really know, just to look good, she will probably find out. She will ask you to explain it.
YouTuber Tom Blake shared a really clever trick for this. He wanted to apply, but he didn't have a perfectly updated resume ready to go.
So he went to his LinkedIn profile, copied the text of his work experience, pasted it into ChatGPT, and asked the AI to format it cleanly into a simple resume.
It took him 30 seconds.
Lord.
It's perfectly formatted for Zara to read, and most importantly, it was completely honest and based on his real experience.
That is a great practical use of AI to prepare for an AI interview. Moving on to tip number 2, take the practice interview.
Yes, on the Micro1 website, they actually offer free mock interviews for specific roles. You can find practice tests for 3D modelers, Python developers, SEO writers, and many other jobs.
Please do not skip this step. Talking to a robot feels very strange the first time you do it. You are staring at your webcam, there is silence, and you're waiting for an AI voice to reply.
Use the practice interview to get used to that rhythm. Get the awkwardness out of your system before the real interview starts.
And finally, tip number 3, which might be the most important piece of advice we give today. Ask for clarification.
This is a massive stumbling block for people. Candidates think because Zara is a machine, they have to answer her prompt immediately, even if they don't fully understand the question. They panic and start rambling.
Yes. The academic paper specifically states that Zara's architecture can handle clarification questions. If she asks a confusing question or uses a weird term, you do not have to freeze. You can pause.
You can literally say, Zara, could you please rephrase that question? Or could you give me an example of what you mean by that term?
Exactly like I demonstrated in our role play. You should treat her exactly like a human interviewer. If a human hiring manager asked a vague question, you would naturally ask them to clarify before you answered.
Doing this with Zara actually shows strong communication skills. It proves to the algorithm that you are thinking critically about the problem before rushing to a solution.
That is such a powerful insight. It gives you a moment to breathe and resets the conversation.
Okay, we have covered a tremendous amount of ground today. We have talked about Zara's capabilities, the types of questions she asks, how she grades your logic, and how to survive the strict anti-cheat environment.
We want to leave you with some real encouragement. Preparing for an AI interview feels daunting. It is brand new technology, and it can feel a bit cold and impersonal.
It can. But try to remember that the ultimate goal remains exactly the same as a traditional human interview.
At the end of the day, success comes down to clear thinking, effective communication, and confidence in your own skills. If you know your professional field and you can explain your thoughts in a logical, structured way, you are going to do very well.
The AI is just a new medium for you to show off your expertise. And even if you aren't planning to apply to Micro1 anytime soon, this topic is still highly relevant to you.
AI screening isn't a passing trend. It is rapidly becoming the future of corporate hiring. Major companies all over the world are testing similar tools right now.
Mastering this skill today, learning how to present yourself clearly and effectively to an artificial intelligence, is going to be a massive advantage for your career going forward.
It is a shifting landscape, for sure, but the fundamental human skills of clarity and communication are still what matter most, even to a machine.
It really leaves you wondering, though. As we read through how Zara provides perfectly structured, instant feedback and focuses purely on the text of your answers, it brings up a fascinating idea.
What is that?
As this technology gets even better, we might actually prefer it. Think about it. A machine doesn't care what you look like, it doesn't care where you went to school, and it isn't having a bad day. It just cares if you can do the job and explain your reasoning.
It is something to think about the next time you log into a video interview. Would you rather face an exhausted human or perfectly unbiased machine?
It is certainly a compelling question for the future of work. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into the fascinating, slightly stressful world of AI interviews.
We hope you feel much more prepared, a little less intimidated, and ready to tackle whatever Zara throws your way.
Please subscribe for more insights, and we will catch you next time.